This right here, that's a smart meter going off and catching fire.
So I talked to the owner of this house right here in Pasadena. I talked to the owner. The owner does not have a smart meter on this house, on the front part of his house. There's no smart meter, no smart meter. So the house did not burn. The back house is the part of the house that had the smart meter, and everything in the back of his house is burnt. No smart meter, smart meter.
They blame on smart meters. He noticed several PG&E employees got there almost as quickly, and he says one of them removed the smart meter while the firefighters worked. A few months earlier, the same thing happened at this home in Kerman. Attorneys say electricity surged at the smart meter that was right here, and it caused a fire.
I'm going to hold a privacy commissioner at fault, but I believe that BC Hydro and this government is complicit in trying to hide information from the public.
In other words, we have a privacy commissioner, but she's been choke-chained and underfed and under-resourced.
Yep, that's the way I see it.
Is that part of the government conspiracy against the public?
Well, you know, it seems to be a pattern. For instance, the fire department, I can't get fire reports because their budgets have been cut. They're cutting budgets all over the place for our services so that we can't get information. It just seems to be that if they are saving money, truly saving money by cutting these things, I don't think that they've looked at the right places. There seems to be a lot of fat in other places that could be cut before they cut things that are essential to the public safety and also to be able to report to us about how our money's being spent.
You said in the U.S. there's been confirmation that smart meters definitely are causing fires.
Not only in the U.S., but from some industry people in the U.S. I am on several mailing lists for U.S. groups down there. And Tesco, which is a major company down there, has admitted that the number of fires has increased significantly since smart meters were installed. In fact, one of their pieces of information says that the number of fires attributable to electrical distribution equipment has increased 48%. That's a pretty astounding increase, you know, when you look at these numbers. And they also admit that analogs can handle.
So today we're going to hit on why you should opt out of a smart meter. And here's an example right here. You know these Palisade fires going on in California? Check this. Then let's take a listen at the PG&E meter reader and what he says about smart meters.
If they do catch on fire, but they are remotely turned back on.
Interesting. Then I decided to do a little digging on who has the most smart meters in the country. California, 13 million units on 14 million houses. So if smart meters catch fire, this would lead to wildfires all the time. So then it turned out to be true. Check this out. Crisis averted. Ontario smart meter explodes next to gas line. Think about that. Smart meter was burned on the house. And this is where it gets crazy. Smart meter catches fire, utility company denies homeowner's damage claim. Isn't that interesting with the insurance being removed a couple months prior? Look at this one. Smart meters linked to 13 fires in Ontario. Fire marshal says, seems like a lot of people know about these fires caused by these meters. And here's another one where it talks about they can't handle severe weather. Interesting. And PG&E. And it's interesting because YouTube has wiped a lot of this off the internet, but here's a smart meter starting on fire, and then the whole house goes up in flames. Interestingly enough, some of the houses in Los Angeles didn't catch fire that didn't have a smart meter, but the ones with the smart meter ended up looking like this.
Nearly every home in the metro has one, but the devices used to track your electricity could suddenly catch fire and put you and your family at risk. 41 Action News investigator Andy Alcock uncovered the possible hidden danger and went to get answers from KCP&L.
Kansas City Power and Light is at the tail end of a 2.5-year project to install more than 700,000 smart meters across the metro like this one. It's a small part of the billions of dollars utilities have invested across the U.S. in smart meters. But there are serious concerns one Kansas City man experienced firsthand. The burn marks are visible on Waverly Galbraith's Kansas City home. Here's what's left of the smart meter where the July fire started. These pictures show what his house looked like after the fire. Galbraith wasn't home when it started.
I got a call from a neighbor that said he said my house was on fire. But when I arrived, I found out that the meter had exploded.
A Kansas City Power and Light spokeswoman says the utility is investigating the fire, but she says this type of issue is rare in this area. KCP&L Vice President Chuck Casely's statement says, in part, out of more than 700,000 meters KCP&L has installed, we are only aware of a handful of meter malfunctions. There are multiple smart meter makers and different models. The company KCP&L uses has had past issues in other places. Despite few problems here, hundreds of thousands of smart meters have been recalled in the last several years across North America. And hundreds of fires have broken out, including in California, Texas, Florida, Nevada, Illinois, and across Canada.
It really is a very dangerous issue and should be treated as a real unprecedented emergency in your area.
Professor Curtis Bennett is in an ongoing Canadian legal battle over smart meters. Bennett sent us these thermal images showing a dangerous meter connection running too hot and a normal one.
Now you've got this plastic piece of junk on their property, and that's actually what's burning.
California insurance adjuster Norman Lamb currently has 7 open smart meter fire claims. Of the dozens of smart meter fires he's investigated, he says overheating is the major issue.
Let's look at some court documents. Now, what we do know is we've covered some good ground here already. However, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers had to take a respondent, a utility, to court to clear some guy's names who is reporting some things about these smart meter fires. So if you take a look, they have increased burning in the jaws, increased burning meters, pallets of burned up smart meters. Of course, this was Itron, so this is the same company that's installing meters in British Columbia and Michigan, various other places. And what else are they admitting to us again? They're not seeing the same issues with the analog meters as we saw in Palo Alto and other places, and they're seeing a significant increase in these fires and meters being actually returned to the meter shop. Thinner blades. Why on earth Itron did this or the utilities let them do this, we do not know. Again, the thinner blades, when you're trying to put that into that very narrow area and you create that larger gap, you're going to create less tension and you're going to cause arcing that ultimately, as they say in these documents, result in fires. This is a catastrophic design failure that should not be happening in any meters. So as you can see here, the loose connection. When you make that separation, you cause that arcing, again, extremely high temperatures. We see here again in those very same documents, they're talking about the remote disconnect function, as they talked about in Quebec and as they've been talking about in a multitude of other places. They're having issues with this all over the place. And again, that's Itron. So the meter base, they're seeing up to 3 to 4 fires per month. Now, the utility spent a lot of money on these meters. Of course, they're looking for the time of usage. Of course, they're looking to get more data out of the meters. So what are they telling these guys? What are they telling the guys out in the field who are looking at, witnessing, and having to deal with these fires? It doesn't matter. We're going to have to use these meters anyway. Now, going back to our whistleblowers, this is exactly what they were telling us about in other jurisdictions. Dozens of meters coming back to the shop, all the way back to the early 2000s when digital meters started coming out. So as we move forward, this is going to get worse and worse and worse. Landis and Gear and some people, they put out this document. Now, of course, you were not allowed to look at this document and you were not supposed to know this document existed because you might just take it out of context and the public doesn't really need to know the danger that they're in. Only the utility should know what's going on. So they're actually very much trying to hide this. And as you can see here in their own documents, they're showing examples of burned meters, burned lugs, that type of thing. Again, the micro-arcing, the arcing conditions that these meters.
So I'm going to blow you away right now. You ready? Mm-hmm. Because you said smart meters. So I did some research. Out here, there's a company called Southern California Edison. It's now called Edison International, right? They supply the electricity to the houses. They also, by the way, they have smart meters for water. They have smart meters for gas. So I looked in the areas. In 2012, the proposed areas where they wanted to have smart meters in within 10 years, you're going to be blown away at the cities. You will know it. Anybody from Southern California will know it. All of them are fire areas. You ready for this list? This is their list. You guys go to edison.com. This will knock your socks off. Communities in the upcoming installation phase include Agoura Hills, Calabasas, Camarillo, Canoga Park, Chatsworth, Hidden Hills, Malibu, Moore Park, Newberry Park, Oak Park, Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks, Topanga, Westlake Village, and a small part of Santa Rosa and Woodland Hills. That's like Fire Central.
Yeah.
Is it? I just got the what do you call it? The God bumps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fire. That's on their website, guys. I wasn't looking for specific cities. My search literally was saying Edison smart meters, and that's the first thing I came up with on their site. They literally are putting all of those where there's fires. Coincidence? I don't know. TikTok moment? Yes, I think so.
So what was so interesting, that was when I was at my sister's house, the houses across the street nothing was wrong with the houses across the street. And then both houses on the back side, like on the side kind of towards the back, that's where they put the smart meters. So I realized that the only houses that had the smart meters were the ones where the smart meters were installed on the side, I guess, back of the house. So if they can't get to your regular gas line or your regular electrical line or whatever they're trying to read, then they put the smart meters there so they don't have to come out to check them. Well, it just seems to me that while I was standing there and the two houses across the street from my sister's house literally get set on fire at the same time when there's no fire. When there's no fire. And then I was like, you know what? There gotta be something to this. So then I woke up really early in the morning, and then I noticed nothing but white cars with blacked out windows. And then I looked up what that was, and they were like, oh, that's the army. And then the next day, the army shows up, and now nobody can go to their houses because I saw those white trucks going and taking the devices. And when they took the devices, they'd leave a black empty box.
And then there's all these videos of the fire jumping from house to house, but not burning anything in between. Check this out. Lawsuits claim faulty PG&E smart meters started their house fire. Could this be the culprit? Then I was doing some more research on smart meter fires. Look at this. Just pops up. Tons of them. Interesting. So then I decided to look up what's in the smart meter, and check this. Lithium batteries, just like those Teslas which were left out on the street. And when they catch fire, the firefighters can't put them out. Isn't this kind of interesting? Then I decided to go way back to the San Francisco fires. Remember when the tops of the buildings only burned, but everything else remained? Check this. San Francisco gas light merges with PG&E. It's been going on for a long time, it seems.
I've been following Michael Jaco for a few years, and check out what he has to say about the smart meters.
In that area was telling me that they suspect, and it's pretty obvious, I believe, at this point, that the meters, the electric meters, were causing the problem. We'll look at if I'll probably come across some of that. So here the same thing. You got one area of a neighborhood that's completely untouched, and just right across the street, the smart meters basically burn all those houses down to the ground. All right. 1,000 structures confirmed lost in the Marshall Fire. So again, you see trees still standing, untouched, right across the road, perfectly untouched homes, except for, looks like a few right there they decided to hit in their directed energy weapon use. So lots of different videos. Same thing. Looks like a portion of that home might have gotten hit, or that's backed up. That's a wall that's there. So here's a home not hit, and all these homes taken out. All right. So who allows this stuff to happen? Who continues to allow these directed energy weapon use? Who is allowing that? So that's part of the Illuminati club, I guess, the cult club.
You can call this accidental or you can call it purposeful, but these smart meters are designed with a flaw where they don't have a surge protection from the main line. 2 different people reached out to me in the past few years, ex-military with infrared goggles, from military grade infrared spec goggles, and they're showing me that the smart meter has an infrared designation on it. Each smart meter in each home has an infrared designator, which is a flicker that is specific fingerprint to each home, which is a war zone tool, so that you can tell who's who. That's Johnny, that's Sammy, and that's the enemy. And you can laser beam strike the enemy with these designators and not hit the friendlies. And why would they be on a home? Likely because they're weaponizing neighborhoods, and we're in a new world order already, and it's very curious. So I witnessed it firsthand when my town got burned up, Talent, Oregon, and Phoenix, Oregon, right next door. We had 2,300 low-income homes go up in the middle of the day. Guess what? The electricity was left on and the water was off. People were turning on their hoses and getting a drop. The firemen were showing up, turning on the hoses and getting a drop. Nothing was the way it should be in a situation where fires were coming in. And lo and behold, we're in wine country. Everybody's got crazy real estate values except for these 2,300 low-income homes that were just sitting there as an eyesore. And now they're just in rubble, and they still haven't been rebuilt. It's been 3 years.
This lady said there's a volcano right under her house. Whenever she cooks, she can just place a pan directly on the floor to fry eggs. She doesn't need to heat water. Turning on the tap gives boiling water instantly because the volcano is so hot that there are burn marks on her walls, and she's too scared to sleep at night. She carries a flashlight to inspect the corners and sprays water to prevent the house from catching fire. The film crew only spent a few minutes inside and was already sweating. When they touched the floor, they found it was extremely hot. Using a thermometer, they discovered the floor temperature reached 147 degrees Fahrenheit. Measuring other areas in the house, they found the average temperature was over 104 degrees Fahrenheit. People could only guess that there might be a hot spring beneath the house. The crew began investigating further and asked the neighbors, but their homes were all normal. Finally, they noticed something unusual with the electricity meter. They found that the meter had a short circuit and was sparking. Due to the house's structure, the entire building became a giant conductor, like an electric kettle, heating the whole place. After the repairs were done, the lady said she could finally sleep peacefully.